Hey guys, Amanda here at Bare Bones Living, and it is an okay day outside today. It's about, I think it's 48 degrees right now. Yesterday it was 35 degrees, and the rest of the week it's supposed to be in the 30s as well. It's really, the bottom has kind of dropped on us here. But that's just kind of how our weather goes. We go up and down quite a bit. But what I want to do today is show you guys how we winterize our chickens and our chicken coop to survive a Chicago winter. But first things first, also what I have to do real quick is I have a rosemary plant that I planted in my herb garden earlier this year that I grew from seed, and it totally got overcrowded with the existing herbs that were already in there. So it got really dwarfed out and it didn't grow very much. But rosemary is not frost hardy. Luckily it's been protected because it is so small. It's been fairly protected by the herbs that are already in there and has not succumbed to the frost. So I'm going to harvest that real quick. I'm going to put it in a pot and bring it inside, and then I'll show you guys what we do for our chickens. So I got my pot here and my tool to harvest, and we'll head over here to my herb bed where I can rescue, hopefully, this rosemary before it's too late. And it's so tiny that I always have to really search around for it to see if it's still there. But it is. Goodness. And I don't know if you guys can even see this. There we go. There's the little rosemary. And so yeah, it's still green. It's still good. So I'm gonna just dig around that and harvest that out and put it in this pot and see if I can get it a little bit more established by next season. But you can see just like the overgrowth of all my herbs in here and understand how it got dwarfed out and why it's still protected even though we've had weeks straight of frost. So let's get this thing out of here. I don't know how well this is gonna all show up on that camera since it's so overgrown in here, but we'll give it a shot. I'm just going wide around the rosemary to get as much of the existing root system as possible. Came out very nicely. I'll get whatever these little guys that are growing out of there off. Get it moved over to some nice fresh soil. So here it is in all of its glory. Not very impressive for a year's growth. But it did not win the strongest plant award and got dwarfed out, but it's still around, so we're gonna give it some time to recuperate inside, and next year I'm sure it's gonna rock it because I'm gonna plant it in a better location. So that's awesome. That was one thing that was kind of weighing on me to do for a while, knowing that rosemary is frost tender and we've been freezing for the past 2 weeks. So I really needed to get that done. Okay, but back to the topic at hand here was how we winterize for a Chicago winter with our chickens. So what you can see that we have done here is we got this greenhouse plastic and we put it around the entire coop, not down there in the back on the bottom, but around the whole run on the bottom. Leave it ventilated on the top so that there's still good air exchange. And what Mike did was just wrapped it, and then he put these boards over it to hold it down. Frame the door, frame the walls, all around the bottom here, and the A-frame. And you can see it looks like a critter got to the bottom here, and it wasn't a critter. That was our puppy. So we're probably gonna have to redo that. But this just blocks wind. So one thing that's important is you don't want, you still want ventilation. So the top is all open underneath that like corrugated plastic. That's all open for ventilation. The side is open for ventilation. This little walkway in between the A-frame and the bottom of their run, that is still open, so they still will get snow in that the little corner nook here. They'll get precipitation still. And the back of this on the bottom is still open for ventilation. So you want to keep good ventilation. We just try to prevent as much breeze through as possible. And then with this A-frame, there'll be precipitation, you know, that can get down on the edges of the A-frame. So that's probably why we'll redo this at some point. So then on the inside, hi girls, everybody's nice and warm in here. They got a nice feast of beef broth makings. So I've been trying to clean out my freezer. I made a big batch of beef broth. So they got all those scraps. Everybody's looking healthy and happy. You'll see our waterer here. We just changed that out, and that is a heated waterer. So that black cord there is our power cord, and we just have an extension cord running through our yard. And that just makes it's got a thermostat on it and regulates it to make sure that it doesn't freeze on our freezing nights. And then we have our omelet automatic door, and we have that set to close now during the winter. During the summer we did not have that set to close because we're not actually worried about predators or anything, because they're very secure in here. But in the winter we have it set to close just to hold in heat for them. But you can see that kind of that flap right there, that's where the end of that plastic goes to. But that's pretty much it. It's just the greenhouse plastic, the heated water, and the omelet door is enough to keep them warm, dry, and happy. And then coming over here, and taking a quick peek inside, it doesn't look any different than it always has because we don't do anything different in here for the winter, but you can see that reflective backing. That's just to keep in heat. And we have it on this wall, that wall, back there. We don't have it on the run side, but this is just to help keep their body heat in. Hi, baby girl. That just helps hold in body heat. We also have it lining the nesting boxes, which they're still not laying. But again, just insulation, keeping their body heat. They have deep bedding, fresh bedding, and they're pretty happy. Okay, so I got the rosemary inside now. Rearranged my plants a little bit so it can be up top and not nudged by the puppy and kids and get full sun throughout the winter. All right, so yeah, that's basically it. We don't do anything fancy. I mean, the fanciest things are the heated water and the automatic omelet door. Those are definitely two luxury items. But I mean, we used to have just like a regular door that we used to close every night, and we could just use like a regular water that we would fill every day. We do go out there every day because we ferment our feed. So we don't use like a freestanding feeder, and we don't feed pellets. We get grains and we put them in water and ferment them, basically sprout them, and it gives them more nutrients and it stretches our food longer. So we do have to feed them every day, and they don't get free feed all day long. So we, even in the thick of the winter, when it's on days when it's like 20 below, we're going out there to feed them, also to check on them, things like that, because if they have to endure it, then we have to endure it, right? But yeah, we don't add any supplemental heat. I did forget to point out when we were in the coop, we do have a rope light that goes around the middle of our run at the halfway point, just on the underside of the wood that's halfway up the wall. And we only have that come on in the morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning, because we're getting up for work at that time, and we let our dogs out at that time, and chickens can't see in the dark. So we have the omelet door to open at 5, and we have the rope lights to turn on at 5, so that when we're up getting ready for work and they hear the dogs, at least they can see and feel more comfortable. And I mean, they know the sound of our dogs, but they're not so scared. And then when we come out to feed them, they're not startled, because they can actually see what we're doing, and then they can see their food, and things like that. But that's the only supplemental light that we give, is in the morning, so that we don't spook them. Some people also do it in the evening, because chickens lay eggs based on the amount of daylight that they get. They need about 14 hours of daylight a day to stimulate egg production. And in the winter, we definitely don't get that. But
for our family, we choose not to do that because we would just like to give our girls a rest over the winter. Chickens are born with all the eggs they're ever going to lay, so we would rather stretch the duration that they lay in than front load their laying and have them use up all their eggs in the first 2 years of their life. And then they would just be pets, which they are our pets. But it's nice when they give us something in return. So we're okay with them taking a break. And we're not giving supplemental light in the evening. So when it gets dark at 3 o'clock, it gets dark at 3 o'clock and they go to bed. And another reason that we don't add supplemental heat, and that is because we want them to, chickens are very hardy and adaptable, but they need this transition. They need the fall to get used to the cold weather. And they've just gone through their molt. Blanche is the last one to finish her molt. She's still growing in the last of her feathers. And you really want them to get hardy and ready for that winter, that harsh winter to come. And if you give them supplemental heat and that fails at any point, the drastic drop in temperature could significantly harm your chickens, if not just kill them, because it would just be such a total shock to their system. Plus their fire hazards as well. So we don't do that, and we don't suggest that. Like I said, 3 of them are already 2.5 years old, and then the other 3 are 1.5 years old. So, they're getting quote unquote old for egg-laying chickens. Most chickens kind of start to poop out after their second year of laying. But they've been through, this will be the second year for the newer 3, the second winter that they've gone through. But we've had them out there in -20, -30 degree weather, and during those times we were very nervous, but we went out and checked on them, and they never had any kind of, maybe just a little bit of frostbite on their combs, but nothing that didn't, wasn't able to heal or anything like that. As long as you keep them dry, keep their ground dry, they're fine. And because we keep them dry and we keep the wind off of them, they're able to regulate their temperature just fine. So, I hope this video helps. There's nothing crazy that you have to do, and your chickens are really hardy little dinosaurs, and they'll surprise you, but they're really awesome, and that's all we do for the winter to protect them, and they thrive. Once they start laying again, they may just take a break all winter, and that would be just fine as well. But we have multiple breeds out there, the Australorp, the Barred Rock. They're both winter hardy birds, and they will lay through the winter. My Easter eggers even laid through the winter, even though it was few and far between. They laid through the winter. But the newer girls, they weren't really laying yet, so we'll see how they do this winter. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do that. And we will catch you on the next one. Thank you guys for stopping by today and joining in on our journey here at Bare Bones Living. We'll catch you on the next one.